Okay, here we are. Episode 59. We have Angel back this week. Katie's at a conference, I think, but she's in New Orleans, so that makes it worth it. Um, and this is the topic that I've been wanting to do for like months. And originally, I was going to have it just be on menopause. And then I thought, well, there's so many other things, you know what I mean? Like I pulled my friends down here the other night because I don't leave anybody alone. And I was like, you guys, I'm like, Angel and I are gonna do an episode about like, what did I say? I said, Angel and I are gonna do an episode on the joys of midlife, right? Menopause, grown kids, all other midlife weirdness. I'm like, give me some good observations. And they had some like really good ones that like I didn't, my friend Amy said losing parents, retirement, watching your kids succeed, waiting for your kids to figure it out. My friend Karen was like stress, worries, older parents, bills, debt. Um, Karen's like, no bad sleep, tossing and turning all night, aches and pains, um, brain fog, can't remember words. She's like, the list goes on and on. And, what I said to them, I said, it, all of these things are so important. And this is female focused, okay? Because men don't really have all the same things to say, right? Oh, and I also said, at this age too, self-doubt, wondering what the rest of your life's going to look like, like stuff like that. And I said, nobody ever gave me a primer on losing parents and kids growing up and menopause and all this other stuff. And so let me ask you this at your current stage of life, because you and I are kind of similar. Like our kids, we both have three boys. They're both mostly grown-ish. We've talked about menopause. The question I posed to them was, what were some of the biggest changes you noticed as you approached this particular stage of your life? Because I really feel like we talked about this before, you and I really feel like this is a transitional bridge period in women's lives.
For
I do.
sure.
I really do. So what are your thoughts?
I think the biggest change that I noticed in perimenopause was, sorry, I'm just putting my phone on do not disturb, was, all of the things physiologically that go along with menopause, half the things you rattled off, the mood swings, the irritability, the sweats, the restless sleep, the second guessing, the brain fog, all of it. So that I think joined with growing kids, and it's some high grade fuckery. So there, like you have been known to say before, there for every problem there is a solution, and solutions I sought, solutions I found. That's not to say that this has all been a cakewalk since, but
Right.
it's certainly eased the edges off of what felt like madness, really. So, yes.
So just in relation, so yeah, I remember like distinctly. Okay, so like I said, I wish somebody would have given me a primer on menopause when I was like 25 years old,
Right. Thanks, Mom.
because well, our moms didn't talk about it, right? Like I told you, like my mom said, she's like, menopause. I didn't really go through menopause. I'm like, oh,
You
hell
just
yes,
get through
you
it.
did.
Yeah, you did.
I
Right.
was in the house with you.
Yeah.
Okay. You
Yeah.
definitely were. but they
Uh-huh.
kind of block it out. And no, they didn't talk about it back then. And
Right.
and like they didn't talk about, my God, they barely started talking about it like a decade ago. But like when my grandmother started going through menopause, or maybe when, perimenopause is the rockier one, mood swing
I think
wise and
so.
stuff.
Yeah,
Well,
for
because
sure.
like as my doctor explained it to me when I went to him in 2020, and I said, things are changing. I know they're changing. I physically know they're changing, and
Right.
also like emotionally, whatever. And he said, because here's the thing about perimenopause. He's like, throughout your life, ever since you got your period the first time, 12 years old, he's like, you were on a 28-day cycle that went like this. And that was your cycle. He's like, in perimenopause, daily, you are like this
All
daily,
over,
right?
zigzagging up, down. Yeah. You
Zigzagging
go
all over
from
the
a
place.
nice smooth sine curve to complete erratic
He went from
nuttiness.
a nice, expected way of how things are supposed to be. I mean, I was 28 days to the minute every
Wow.
month, every month. And and so then that gets disrupted, right? And disrupted in crazy ways. You go 3 months not having your period, then you get it 4 times in 1 month.
That's right.
I'm not lying, ladies. I'm not lying, you young ones out there. This is what I wish people would have told me, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then you don't know. Well, then the first time you don't get it, you're like, oh shit, am I pregnant? Like I've been trying, like that screws with your head. That screws with your head, right? So you're like, well, I don't need a baby at 47, like,
Yeah.
but not that I was having unprotected sex, of course. I'm very responsible. But I'm saying that you second guess yourself. You're like, I
Sure.
can't be pregnant, but holy crap, am I pregnant? But I can't be pregnant, So then it's all over the place, right?
Right.
All over the place. And okay, so two points. When I went to my OBGYN in right before COVID, it was January of 2020. And I had made an appointment for like a consultation. It wasn't my annual. And so when they're not actually examining you, they know something's up, right? So like
Mhm.
they put me in an examining room, but I was just clearly sitting on a table, and he walked in, and he delivered all three of my kids, like the whole thing. And he walked in and he said, okay, he's like, so is the noose tightening? I said, what do you mean? He's like, is the rope tightening? Like,
Yeah.
you almost feel like you're
Unmoored.
bracing yourself all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I
Sure.
mean? Like you
Yeah.
you're tightly wound. You're tightly wound, right? Can't relax, like the whole thing. And so like when my grandmother on my mom's side started to go through what they call the
The
change.
change.
I hate that expression so much. Um, back then, your husband could take you to the doctor, right? Back in the, what year would have been 50s, right? Right. Your husband could make a doctor's appointment for you with your physician and take you and be in the room with you.
Sure.
And my grandfather took my grandmother to the doctor and asked for barbiturates because she was going through, and she was sedated for the rest of her life. The rest
Holy
of her life.
shit.
That is how my grandfather handled my grandmother's health of going into menopause.
Yeah, good God. They didn't know what
He,
they didn't know, but
he
Jesus, thank
sedated
God
her.
that shit's changed. Yeah.
He sedated
Wow.
her.
Now, it's the yellow
Because,
wallpaper all over again. But
like
go ahead. Yeah.
that was, but men back then, some of these women were put in institutions. Some of these women were given electroshock therapy.
Sure.
Okay. Are people understanding how crazy that is? And
Yes.
that
And the good news is that since that horrifically seminal study that was not so seminal, it turns out, in the 70s, in convincing women that hormone replacement therapy was in fact going to give them breast cancer, they set the clock so far back. And thank God that there are people like Dr. Mary Claire Haver and a number of other very much female-led OBGYNs who
Sure.
have turned the tide, and women are now realizing that, oh my God, this is a women's health issue that you don't have to suffer through it like our mothers or our grandmothers suffered. There is
Right.
help.
Right.
Get it. Get it, because
Right.
it's a game changer, and it will then help you handle all the things that have become nascent in your life with growing kids. And it just it helps you put your feet back on the ground, because let's face it, once your nervous system is regulated, your hormones are regulated. Not only is it a great boon for your physical well-being, your joints, the postponing hopefully osteopenia and the high
Right.
cholesterol and all the other stuff, it helps you mentally rebalance and gain a focus and cope.
And cope.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And like when you say gain of focus and stuff like that, like that's what Karen meant by brain fog, right? Or she's like, or I
Mhm,
can't think of a word, or I can't remember something. Um, this is not us losing our minds.
mm-mm.
Okay. That's not what this is. Our minds are completely intact.
Yeah, this is
It
about
is,
estrogen leaving the body. That's it.
and
Plain
and
and simple.
hormones regulate both men and women. Okay, there
Right.
is such a thing as andropause for men. We're not
For
going to
sure.
focus on men today. If I have to read one more article about the male loneliness epidemic, I don't know what, but
It's a
we're not
thing.
going to focus on men. We're not going to say, oh, there's menopause and there's also andropause for men. So it's all fair and even Steven. No, 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 completely different.
Well,
Complete.
because it is completely different, and it bears repeating that the focus on health in general that's been, held under the umbrella of health, health for everyone. Men and women's health are very, very different things.
Totally different.
And I'm not pooping on the dudes, but I'm saying that it 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 men's health has forever been a focus. It's led the charge forward for all of us, whether it benefited us or not, which it did not. So yeah, back to women and what we go through. It's a ride,
It's a
and
ride.
not
And you
always a
know what?
pleasant one.
We're not here saying, that we're saints or martyrs. Like that every woman knows this is going to happen to them. Okay. Every woman know, well, there should be a class. I swear to
We
God.
should we should know what's
There
coming.
should be a
Yeah,
class because just like there should be classes, but, like pre-pregnancy classes to tell you all the weirdo crap that could happen to your body that you never would have thought of because you're
right,
basically just having a baby. Oh no,
right.
guess what? Your hair is going to fall out, or your hair might get thicker, or you might. Some people like develop a skin condition when they're pregnant. So I'm like, I mean, gestational diabetes. So like the thing about menopause, perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, which you'll be postmenopausal for the rest of your life. So I don't even know why we call it postmenopause.
Right.
Um, wild, wild symptoms.
Yeah.
Wild. There are
Yeah.
people whose skin itches so badly they could claw their skin off. Like they could,
That
like,
tongue burning, like, strange things that
weird,
you that
weird stuff.
yeah, that you
Oh, like your
never, I mean,
gums bleeding, like there's so many things that can happen. And there's an article in the Guardian. I did not read it yet, but I loved the title of it. Women don't need menopause tea and meno-friendly nighties. They need doctors to take them seriously.
yeah,
It says
absolutely.
serious health conditions are being misdiagnosed
Yep.
because like so many wild things can happen to you. Like my biggest complaint, I think, with my menopausal symptoms is my sleep. It's my sleep. Now I have to, when you have kids, when you become a mom, your sleep's already disrupted and you become the lightest sleeper in the world when
Sure.
they're little and toddlers, well, you just become the lightest sleeper in the world. Um, so it's not like I wasn't used to disrupted sleep for the last almost 24 years. But this is different because like I wake up usually at the same time every night. And this is another part of it too. And I've read articles where other women have said racing thoughts in the middle of the night,
Sure. Racing
racing,
thoughts, heart
going over,
palpitations.
over. I
Sure.
don't really have heart palpitations. I do know that some women can,
Good.
but like mine is racing thoughts. like and overthinking and overanalyzing and
Sure.
worry
Sure.
and like we said self-doubt and I will go over every conversation that I had throughout that day going okay. Mary Lou and I were talking the other day and she, she and I are like, yeah, we were talking before I came out with you. We had the most hilarious conversations. But like I was telling her how I was out with my good friend Amy, who lives next door, and her brother was in town, and her parents and our other friends, Amy and Ryan. And we were out and I was telling, oh no, we were sitting on her front porch and I was telling a story. And then the next day I was like, because I overthought it during the night. I was like, God damn, did I talk too much? And so the next day we were all together again. And I'm like, oh, you guys, I gotta apologize. I'm like, did I like talk too much yesterday? I feel like and they all looked at me like, what are you
What are you
talking?
talking
Like,
about?
why? They're like, are you apologizing?
What
And then
are you
I was telling
saying?
Mary Lou this story. And she goes, oh my God, Ellen. She goes, I was just picking up Anna from school and I was talking to another parent. She's like, and then I realized I was just like rambling on and on. She's like, these people are going to see me tomorrow and not want to come near me because I talk too much. And I'm like, but do we, or is this just, I mean, is this just us this self-doubt mode? This, you know what it is? I feel like I've known myself my whole life pretty well. And I feel like I'm like getting to know myself again because I feel like I'm in this dip. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
looking at myself and going, plus they're with the midlife thing and there's so many other things, but like in my personal, situation with my job. And I can't say who I work for, but like there a return to office mandate and I'd always been remote. I'd never worked in office and because I did not want to relocate to my designated spot in the country, which would have been away from all my friends, all my family, I'd be by myself.
Yeah.
I'm not relocating. And so I'm applying for jobs. And my last day of work is July 31st. And I never thought that my job defined me until I was about to
Until
lose it.
now. Right.
Until I was about to lose it. And Mary Lou and I have had this conversation as well. And this is something I also never viewed myself like this. Like I'm going to be 54 years old. Feel like I'm 27. I do. I feel like I'm 27. To me, 54 always seemed old. I don't feel old. Okay. Maybe some viewers might think I look old. I don't care. I am letting my gray grow in. Can't really tell in this lighting, but I
Go
know,
on.
I knew you'd like that. I knew you'd like that. But like, I don't feel old.
Right.
I don't feel I've aged out of the job market. But let me tell you something. When I submit my resume, which is incredibly impressive, I might add. I'm sorry, it's a CV, not a resume, curriculum vitae. So when I submit it, as I have in the past,
Helen,
what I didn't, well, because AI, a lot of people places use AI to scan resumes. They're looking for keywords, they're looking for, whatever.
100%. Yes, yes, yes.
Fine, whatever. Also, too, because my son just asked me the other day how the job search was going, and I said, well, something that Mary Lou actually brought to my attention. I wasn't even thinking about it. She's like, they can calculate our age by when we graduated from college. They can
Oh, yeah,
calculate our
easily.
age. And I'm
Absolutely.
like, I go, so there could be like
Oh.
subtle ageism going on,
Oh,
but
there's 100%
you can't
ageism go
prove it.
absolutely.
You can't prove it,
You
right?
can't.
You can't prove it. And
No.
so Mary Lou and I have these talks all the time. And I said, you know what? As upset as I was, and as scared as I was, and as nervous as I was about my job ending, I've started to look at it as an opportunity
A better
because
approach. Yes.
maybe I don't want to be in this field anymore.
Right.
Maybe I want to do all contract work and work for myself, because there's
I like that
plenty of
idea.
contractor jobs out there. Um, like maybe I want to change it altogether. Like I started
Yeah,
door
and I
dashing.
yeah, 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 yeah. Well, whatever it takes, and I think
It's fun.
to go back a couple minutes to what you said is this idea of getting to know yourself again, and I think that's part of this one of the strangest shifts in perimenopause into menopause and then post is that you absolutely, at least in my experience, I have discovered that a lot of cultural programming begins to get de-wired and deprogrammed. And so
Absolutely.
all of the scripts that you have allowed to run, because there's really no, I mean, unless you are just born the Buddha as a female, like you don't figure
Right.
these things out until certain things, your chemistry, your body, your life experience, all these things coalesce. And you get to a place where you recognize that, oh my God, not I've been doing it all wrong, but I have not been living my most real me. I've not been saying
Right.
my most real things or
Right.
behaving in my like fill in the blank, right? So now you get to this piece where you add this added burden of thinking about having to reinvent your career wheel at this stage
Right.
and you realize that, yeah, our culture basically teaches all of us that what you do is work. And whether or not you think consciously that you're defined by what you do, think about the very first thing that comes out of your mouth when you haven't seen someone in a while. So, what are you doing now? It is all very work centric. And so I think having that piece threatened, to lose it and to have to reinvent it is another layer of, oh my God, I can choose a different way forward. So but it is this idea of relearning who you are or excavating who you are because all of the pieces that you've been doing on autopilot because you were told this is the way to do it, you're like, wait a minute, there's a different way. And there is.
There's a
There
zillion
is.
different ways. And,
Yes.
there's a zillion different ways. And these women, you know, over 50, just even the tiniest little thing, like my friend who lives next door, Amy, um, when it's during the winter, when it's cold, I will wear like stretch pants and a sweater, and I always wear my flannel robe over me. Always. Like that's my uniform inside my house because it's cozy and
The
I love
house
it.
uniform.
It's
Yeah.
my house uniform. And if it's really cold, I'll have a hat on. Like one of my like beanie, because I have so many beanie hats and I love them all. And the one day, and I just don't think about it anymore. And the one day I was outside having a cigarette in a hat, my robe, and like winter boots. And Amy came outside and she's like, oh my God, you make me laugh. She's like, you make me laugh. I was like, why? She's like, your robe and your hat.
The
And
whole
like,
look, the whole ensemble.
I
Yep.
was like, I would go to the store like this. I mean, like,
Oh,
I'm over, and like, but other, like, and this is the smallest thing, but this is what I'm talking about. I think I'm pixelating. Yeah, I'm pixelating. It makes me look old. Um, a lot of people, this is such a small thing, but it's actually been in my head. When Amy was like, "Oh my God, you should take a picture of me one day." She sent it to me. She from her house to mine. She was like, um, some people would be like, oh my God, what if somebody sees me outside in my robe? Right? Like, you don't go outside in your robe. You go outside in your winter jacket. Why would, and I know it's a small thing, but it's funny. But there's little things, right? Like for women especially. I read this article about the things that women don't care about anymore now that they're over 40, over
The
50.
We Do Not Care Club. I love that
And
woman. Do you follow her on Instagram? She is
no, I didn't know.
hilarious.
Oh yeah, there's all the things that have been like drilled into our heads that they're unraveling. This one lady's like, I don't wear a bra in public anymore. She's like, I don't care. Right? Yeah. This other
All the
lady's like,
things.
this other lady's like, skincare routine. She's like,
What are
all
we
the
talking about?
hours and hours
Soft
I
soap?
spent
Fine.
every
Right.
night, like
Yep.
makeup.
I
A
actually
lot
put
of
makeup
women.
on for this today. I think I showed
I
up. I was raw dogging
I
it
just like
last time
I
I was
like
on, but
makeup.
yeah,
I like
well, me too. I mean, it does help on,
it's the
when I
girliest
care.
part of it, really.
Right,
But like
right.
letting your hair go gray, that was a
Did
big
it.
one. Letting,
Yeah.
you know what? I don't, it's so funny because Gray, ironically, my son Gray, has been saying to me for years, just let it go.
Let it go.
Just
The
let it go,
amount
mom.
of
It's like,
money, the amount no
oh,
judgment to people who do it.
I know, but
Truly no judgment at
it
all, because I
is
did it for
freaking
years.
expensive.
It's expensive on your pocketbook, it's expensive on your, the time that you give to it, like 3 hours in a chair, I'm like, "I got
Oh,
shit I gotta do." Yeah,
yeah.
you know, and it's easier, it's healthier, but no shame on the women who continue to do it, and some, feel great about it, and that's the only thing that matters, but
And
with
yeah, if it makes
all
you,
of the scripts that run about how we should be, and it's exhausting. I think that's the piece, is that you free up so much mental energy when you stop running that script. You free up so much energy to pursue other things,
other things, other things.
things
And
that
you know,
matter
right.
to
And
you.
that's yes. And I'll say it like, I think it probably started around the time that I knew I was gonna lose my job. Um, the amount of self-doubt that I had,
Yeah,
I mean, a ton
sure.
daily,
Yeah.
daily, daily.
Well, I mean,
Um,
if you hold that up against the backdrop of what's going on in the world, I mean, cost of everything is through. I was just listening to um, Morning Edition on NPR, and inflation is the highest it's been in a very, very long time. And so you think about this safety that you've come to know as safety, financial safety, independence,
sure,
all the things that
sure.
matter to everybody, but I think especially women, to not gain the full expression of your independence when you've got your own money. You can do your own thing. You can leave if you need to, if a situation's bad. But when that piece gets threatened to get removed, you it's the ground moves beneath your feet a little bit. It's very unsettling, you
Terrifying.
know?
It's
Yeah.
terrifying. But
Sure.
I'm not gonna like there are days where it really hits me. Obviously I think about it every day, right? Especially since it's dwindling down now. Um,
Yeah, you're
but
nearing it.
oh yeah, I'm very near. There are days that I'm like, oh my God, like what am I gonna do? Like, what am I gonna do? Like, and then there are days, and I should have more of these days. I'm like, you can always make more money. You can always hustle. You can always hustle, Ellen.
Sure.
I look around this house, I'm like, I'm not losing this house. I'm not losing this house after what I went through to get this house, or
Right.
all the years before that, what I went
Right.
through. To be at the station in life that I'm at, and by station in life, I mean independent and
Yep.
not under someone's thumb
Right. And you're in a
anymore.
place that you straight up chose. Everything
Yeah.
about it, you curated to your liking, and yeah, you're not gonna lose it. There's so many options available, Ellen.
And
So
there's
many.
nothing but options, right? So it's like, that's what I mean. Like, this is like, in the sense of getting to know myself again, menopause can do some really exciting things to you because I never looked at it like, oh, I can't have children anymore. Oh, I'm no longer feminine or whatever. I think that's a mind fuck. Women should never do that to themselves.
No,
You
definitely.
had, you had the ability to have children. Maybe you had them, maybe you didn't, but the ability was always there. Not being able to have children anymore does not make you less feminine
Right,
at all.
right.
Um, all my feminine attributes are still in place. Thank you very much.
Well,
Whether
for
or not,
sure. But I think
like,
another piece to hold up that I find interesting is that at least in my own travels, my own experience, what I've noted happening are that the pieces that would conventionally be called masculine,
okay,
speaking up, interrupting, um, you know, leaving when I want to or doing what I want to, like
or
just this like
not going if you don't
or
want
not
to.
going or just taking up space. How about that?
Right.
Taking up taking up space has been kind of my new jams since menopause happened. Seriously, like I'm, and not getting, breaking out of the confines of this this script of just so many of the attributes that I feel like I've gained post menopause would absolutely be if they were just written down and somebody were to look at them and say, okay, this person does this, this, and this. It's maybe got to be a dude, and I'm like, no, no, I'm not. But even in my husband, I notice he's definitely going through a midlife change.
I
And so
think.
he's become a lot softer, more emotional, more able to emote and communicate things that up until that point he'd not been able to. And I'm able to do, toughen up a little bit and not be as well. Like I don't cry nearly as often as I should. I don't know if that's a badge of honor, but I just shit rolls off differently than it used to. Like I just don't get as worked up about things as I used to. So it's just interesting. But to your point, it is not all doom and gloom, this change. It
Yeah.
can be very freeing based on how you manage it and how you frame it. Like life, like anything, you know?
Like right. And but I think that what happens at this point for a lot of women, like I said, I feel like this is a transitional bridge age because if you followed a certain path, you got married and you had kids, traditionally your 30s and 40s were spent, you know, chasing kids, driving kids,
And this
doing
is
all
everything we were groomed to do
everything we were groomed
by
to
our
do.
families, by our culture, by our church, by our every like and now
Right.
I'm just like, yeah, but continue, I'm sorry.
And then, as you know, your kids, and I read an article about this, and this is just how it is. And I'm not going to buy into like the bashing of boy moms that I see happening now. I don't know if you've read any articles about this,
No, what's that
how,
about?
how, um, it's so stupid that there's like this new kind of like thing going around how boy moms are like the worst, because yeah, well, okay, there's also like girl dads, right? Like so they're saying like boy moms are overprotective and they're never gonna like the women that their sons marry and they hope they don't want to be replaced and their sons are their first boy, like they're you're their first girlfriend as their what like screwed up crap, right? But our boys have gotten older. Two of mine are out in the world doing it, right? And I read an article about how, especially with boys too, because they're horrible communicators, but they're like, the phone calls will become less, the texts will become less. Um, you're not. Mary Lou put it the best way. She said, "You're a priority in their life, but you're not a priority every day."
Right, fair.
Right? Like I'm out there existing in their periphery. So that's an adjustment after you chased after them for 20 years. And now they're kind of like, see ya.
Yep,
And so that's a transition. So this is why it's a
it
transitional age,
it sure
because
is.
when you look at, your 60s, which a lot of people who you read interviews, they're like, life begins at 65, man.
Happiest time in,
Right?
yeah, their
Like
lives, right.
kids are out and doing their thing. They might even be married and have their own kids, retired, money.
Yep.
Um,
Freed
that's why
up.
this is a bridge age. It's a bridge
Right.
age to me. And I'm already kind of doing it. I would classify myself as an empty nester.
Sure.
But one of the things is that you start to realize that you can really kind of do whatever you want. And remember one day when you texted me and you're like, "What are you doing, mama?" And it was like 10 in the morning. I was like, "I'm still in bed and I'm reading news." And you were like, "Excellent. Sounds
Yeah.
fantastic."
Yep.
Whereas another person, who's still, part of the societal grind would be like, "You're not out of bed yet? You're not dressed
Right.
yet?"
Right.
There are days I never get dressed, folks. There are days I don't put on any real clothes and I'm in class pretty much what could be classified as pajamas all day. And
Yeah.
and there are times where I'm like, oh God, Ellen, you should really like get it together and like get dressed. And I told you, I say to myself sometimes, what would Angel do? What would Angel do? Right? Like,
That's
what would
funny.
Angel do? Would Angel be like, I'm gonna do what I want? And that includes not getting dressed today and maybe just reading.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I screw my job off. Of course, I still work and everything, but I'm saying
Sure.
like it has changed. You realize how much of all this stuff that you thought was important isn't. What did I say to you that one day? We were talking on the phone. It was a couple months ago. I said, Angel, you start to realize not much matters. There's only a very few things that matter, and that is family and friends and how you treat each other, and are you causing anyone harm, are you being kind, are you making anyone's life better?
Right.
The thing, all the stuff that is just noise and bullshit
Right.
starts to fade
Fall away.
away. It starts
Yep.
to drop off.
Yep.
And you're and you start to like you whittle down what you truly care about,
Right. And what you
what you
choose to give
truly
your
care about.
energy over to,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know? And that's very freeing especially if you've gone the path that we are all in many ways taught to, and you realize, you find yourself in a space where you're like, wow, my time is actually my own, aside from whatever your obligations are to keep a roof over your head and you know and your friendships sustained and what your
Right.
relationships alive. Like, your time can be your own. I just said to my oldest son, who moved back in,
Right.
incidentally, um I'm like, if I had it my way, I would work like 15 hours a week. And so this conversation ensued from there. And he has a tendency, my firstborn, who's 26, to have some interesting and more parochial, conventional views on lots of things. But at any rate, we got into this discussion about how freeing it is to just have your time be your own. And that's rare for a lot of it's a luxury very few of us are afforded when it comes to what our workload is, like paid workload, or unpaid workload, which is another whole fucking topic. But there is something so terribly important about, if it doesn't fall into your lap, and it rarely does, you have to make a conscious choice to take it, because rest is a revolutionary act.
Oh
Self-care,
yeah.
and I don't mean going to get your nails done or having a shopping day. I mean, self-care can be as little as what
Being
you said, like
alone.
being alone, or I'm not getting into outdoor clothes today. Like, I'm staying in my pajamas. That's self-care, because
It
it's
is.
self-directed.
It
It's
is.
not coming
And,
from the outside in. It's blooming from the inside out, and that's the piece I think that matters.
and also too, in regard to that, you should not feel guilt about doing that. Okay. And the reason I'm saying that is I grew up with a mom who had to be doing something all the time.
Right.
Now, a lot of it, and I love her dearly, I always say this, but one of my favorite words is fudgling, which is
Fudgling.
fudgling, where you're moving around to make yourself look busy, but you're actually not really doing anything.
Right.
So people fudgle. They
Right.
fudgle because they want to
Right.
look like they're busy. Um, but my mom will literally make statements, even now at 86. I'll be talking to her and say it's like 10:30 in the morning, right? And she'll say, okay, I gotta go. I gotta get moving. I gotta get moving. I gotta do something around here. I gotta do something around here. I'm like, what? Like,
Her
I'm
and
glad
Shirley
it's keeping
cut
you
from the same
active,
cloth. I
but you know what it is? It's not because she wants to be in motion. This is her literally berating herself for not doing
being
something,
productive. Right.
doing a task, doing a chore. This is her really kind of yelling at herself,
Yeah.
making herself feel bad.
Right.
Right? I should be
Well, it's so
farther along
sad.
in my day by now, right? Like I should be
Yeah.
farther along. She doesn't realize that's what she's doing. I realize that's what she's doing. And so
100%.
there are times when I get into that mode around here, if I find myself getting into that mode, I'll say to myself, Ellen, that's Marilyn thinking.
Yeah.
That's Marilyn thinking.
Well, and that kind of
Don't
self-talk
do
is
that.
super important because there is an awareness within you. Like you're consciously thinking about how it is you're spending your valuable time. And if you're fudgling because you're under the impression that in order to be a worthwhile human being, you have to constantly being producing something.
Right,
Um,
right.
but that's a cultural message and it's strong. And our mothers absolutely have it. My mom's on the cusp of retirement. It was supposed to be June 1st. I'm done. I'm done.
Okay,
I'm like,
Shirley.
"Mom, you" yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, "Mom, what are you doing?" I'll call her.
There you
"Oh,
are.
I'm just running some numbers at work." I'm like, "Woman, what a gift for our generation
Sure.
and for generations, coming up to hopefully know that there's another way." But I'm gonna go off on the cultural tangent because that's all we're taught in the United States is work, 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 hustle for your worth, hustle like because our physical, spiritual, gorgeous vessels that we're kicking around on this rock, all that we are taught matters is what we produce and what commodity we absorb by said production, right? What kind of car we drive, what kind of clothes we wear, where we spend our leisure time, how often where do you summer? It's so fucked up. Like, I don't know. I don't
You
claim to
know,
have reached the pinnacle. I know I haven't, but surely that awareness is there. And when you catch yourself fudgling, you that is a big piece toward growth.
I agree. And you know what? It's funny. When you say like when you were saying like, where do you summer? What kind of car do you drive? I was talking to Gray the other day, and his friends all just got back from college and stuff, and after their freshman year, and he was like, oh, he's like so and so are dating. I was like, really? Wow. And he was like, yeah, she goes to whatever school. I can't remember what he said. He's like, she's D1 soccer. She's D1. She's playing D1. I go, Greg, can I say something? I go, it's not going to matter in 5 years.
Yeah.
When they say these things like she's playing D1 soccer. Okay, that's fantastic that she's good enough to play D1 soccer. I've also realized tons of shit is subjective, and there's probably a girl out there that might be 10 times better than her that doesn't care and wants to be a bartender. All right. It's not going to matter.
Right.
Right. There's so many things that don't matter. That is why I have veered away from this put pressure on your kids to go to a 4-year university and get your degree and then be in student loan debt and not be able to find a job. You know what? Take your time, figure out what you want to do. And also too, on top of it, community colleges are fantastic. They're
Yep.
fantastic. You
Yep.
do
For
not
half
have to
the
set
price.
yourself up
Yep.
for future bankruptcy by going to, I mean, not that there's not value in some of it, but like it's kind of like that bubble has burst. And
Hmm.
I also think that's from getting older. It's from getting older. I did what I thought I was supposed to do
Sure.
immediately out of college, right? Immediately out of high school, right to college.
Right.
I lucked out. I lucked out in the sense that then I went on to get a master's. I lucked out that I got a job in my field. But you know what's funny, Angel? Now that I'm 54 and that job's being taken away from me, what good did it do? Because now I've got the bachelor's, I've got the master's. I'm
Right.
applying all over the place, and the job market's horrendous.
Yeah, it's bad.
And I said, I was talking to my friend's mom and I said, I honestly, I'd just love a job bartending.
Do it.
Not even kidding.
Do it.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Social people, don't really have to, I mean, it's not like working with your hands, so much better
Right.
for you than it's so much shit doesn't matter. And menopause is not so much just like a physical, it's like crossing over a bridge
Yep.
to me. It's like
Yep.
crossing over a bridge.
For
And
sure.
it's like the life that you led and you were happy and you were doing the things that you were supposed to do. And now it's like you're crossing into this part of your life where you can do things you want to do,
Yeah, for sure.
or
I
you
mean, that's
can
been my experience for sure.
or
But a
you
lot of
can
people
not
don't
do
have
things
that
you don't want to
luxury.
do, right?
Well, right, right. I mean, so are you doing any of the HRT? Are you doing any of that?
I'm just on progesterone,
Okay.
which you told me was the sad, sleepy one.
Well, I mean, you need it. Your
Well,
body
I mean,
still
that's what he
needs it,
prescribed, 6 years ago, and it worked.
but the estrogen is really important. You're not on any estrogen? I'm on all three. I got the testosterone, I got the
Right.
estrogen, and I got the progesterone that I take 3 times a week. But the estrogen is really the critical piece for so many things. So many important things, especially the sleep, to clear the brain fog, to clear the hot flashes, to clear the erratic mood. I mean, not to mention, um, it helps high blood pressure. It helps some women experience when they go into menopause that their cholesterol they've never struggled with has gone through the roof. It protects your bones. It protects your heart. There are just so many things that are just recently being unearthed where, the benefits of that hormone that have plummeted during. I mean, it happens as early as your early 30s, late 20s,
Again,
but
yeah.
it's critical. It will help your sleep, Ellen. I'm telling you right now. It
Well,
will.
okay, so that's another thing. Okay, so this is something else. Girls who are coming up on their, mid 40s, late 40s, early 50s, whenever it can happen to you. You can get a hormone panel done. You don't have to, like you could go to your OBGYN and say, this is how I'm feeling. But I think it would be wiser to get like a hormonal panel done first, and then take that info to your OBGYN.
Oh, absolutely. The
Not
practitioner I
just have
see,
them like willy-nilly like push up.
yes,
Like,
just like a
so,
blank
and there's
slate. No.
places, yeah, and I mean, Quest Diagnostic does them,
Yep.
and then there's dedicated places like the person you go to for your testosterone.
Yep.
Um, which,
Yep.
and that's another thing
And that
I
helps
think,
your energy level for sure.
right. I think I
Yeah.
spent 38 years of my life not knowing that women had testosterone in their bodies.
I think most of
I
us did.
always associated with that was the male hormone. That's what
Yep.
I always associated it with.
But that's what we were taught. We didn't
Yeah.
know. We
Whereas
didn't
men,
know.
we have both, or we have all of them, and men have all of them. They're in
That's
different
right.
levels
That's right.
because a lot of hormones, that's your secondary sexual characteristics, right? Like,
That's right.
so, but we both have, men and women, levels of all of them.
those hormones in our body for sure.
Right.
For
And I,
sure.
I mean, honestly, I was ignorant of that. And I'm not even kidding you till I was almost 40 years old.
Yeah, but do you know what?
Must have.
I swear to you, since this woman who wrote this book, this Dr. Mary Claire Haver, she wrote the new menopause. She wrote the Galveston diet. She wrote. She's incredibly bright, and she talks about how in her medical training, when she was in school for obstetrics and gynecology, she said that they spent about this much time talking about menopause, the education
Really
that the practitioners are receiving to know what women will
limited.
come to. They themselves have an entire education to get under their belt to better serve their 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 patients. So it's terribly important to be, um, proactive about recognizing your symptoms, not gaslighting yourself into thinking something's wrong with me, or like what your grandmother went through, like having her husband take him to the doctor to say, knock this woman out because she's lost her ever loving mind. Like,
Zork her up. Zork her
yep,
up. And they
yep,
did.
yep, yep. And it's, it's definitely something women owe to themselves, as they, even if you're reaching a demographic, Ellen, through this podcast of younger women, like they need to know what's coming. They need to be able to feel confident enough to have a voice to go into their doctor's office and not get gaslit into, well, it's this or it's that. No, no, no. I strongly suspect it's a hormone imbalance. I would like a panel done. I would like some blood work done.
And two, as well. I've read some studies, I've read some stuff, and thankfully there's more information out there these days. But it has been stated that women who have had, had mental health issues in the past, or for, anxiety, depression, whatever, that menopause might hit them harder than
Oh,
someone who
100%.
didn't have. So that is something really, that's another part of the message. Like, if you need help, ask for it.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
if you feel like you're losing your fucking mind, go ask for help.
You
There's
gotta ask
nothing
for
wrong
help.
with you. There's
Yep,
nothing wrong with you. You can get regulated. It might
yep,
be a matter of having to change whatever medications you have been historically taking, change the dosage, change the type, whatever.
right.
But that has been stated, that it's going to hit you probably pretty hard,
Much harder for sure.
much harder,
And
like
I
mentally
and
and
I
emotionally.
think, just, by way of some anecdotal stuff that's happened recently, there's a young woman I work with who has just been like, "Can somebody take this shift? I can't come into work. I'm not feeling great, blah, blah, blah." She finally reached out to me the other night, and she said, "I'm really depressed." There was, like, suicidal ideation in there, and she said, something along the lines of, "Thank you for, making me feel comfortable enough with you that I could entrust this to you." And I was like, "Honey, oh my God, talk to your doctor, call, call to work and just tell the truth about what you're going through."
Nothing wrong with you.
I'm, yes, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to be in a work family that very much supports that stuff.
Right.
And that is something, generationally speaking, Ellen, even you and I didn't have. I missed a ton of school in high school because I was depressed. My mother didn't know what it was. She should have. She'd been brought up her entire life with it. She married someone who had a very depressive personality and would fall into slides. He self-medicated with alcohol, whatever. But the point is that that was a period of time, even in the 70s and 80s, that
Yeah.
that shit was not talked about. Like, get up, brush yourself off, get out in the world, do it, if you, even if you feel like, you know, I mean, and depression manifests itself in the body in the most sad and awful ways. You're filled with lethargy, you're filled with anxiety. I mean, anxiety and depression are just two different sides of the same coin. But the idea that across the board now, it seems that the gates have been blown open in such a way that, like, just advocate for yourself. The stigma and the shame certainly are still present, but not in the way they were when we were kids, certainly not in the way that it felt to our mothers when they were young, or our fathers for that matter. Like, there is a warmer, more understanding, and more studies have been done to see, like, mental health is a problem in this country. I mean, everywhere
Yes.
really, but Certainly here. I mean, no question. But yeah,
Yes,
you got to
it
advocate for
is.
yourself and get the help you need,
And,
whether it's menopause, depression, anxiety, whatever.
I think, I mean, honestly, specifically with menopause, I mean, this is something that half the population is going to experience, right?
Right.
Half the population.
Right.
There should be hundreds and hundreds of studies and articles because it's almost a phenomenon, really. I
Yeah.
mean, look at what your body is doing.
Right.
And I mean, just look at what bodies can do,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
So, no, I do think that I would even recommend to women like late 20s, early 30s, late 30s to even start doing some research like now. Not to
Sure.
freak yourself out, right? I mean, the basics are you're going to stop having your period, but I'm going to tell you something, it could take 5 years.
Right.
You could think you're done and you get it a year later. Like that actually happened to me. Which is like a one-off, I guess. But like do a little research and figure it out so that you can brace yourself so that you can have the life that you want so that you can go through this and still maintain a quality of life and a quality of happiness and peace in your life and not have this derail you. Some women have been derailed by
100%
menopause.
derailed. Sure. Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely, like not
Yep.
functioning, can't function, right?
Right.
So I think it is important to educate yourself because it's going to be one of the biggest things
Yeah.
that happens in your life. It's up there with having kids if you've had them. It's up there with any, it is a life milestone. It is a
Yeah.
milestone.
Yep.
And it also doesn't mean that because you've gone through menopause already, that you need to be like, shuffled off to pasture. Okay. Um, you are still female, you can still be sexual, you still, I mean, like, and
Right.
like you said, solution for every problem. If some women are experiencing, a lower libido, if some women are experiencing, all the things that come along with vaginal dryness, vaginal atrophy, like those things happen.
Yep.
There are solutions to those
There.
problems. There
There
are
are.
products. There
Yep.
are all of that. You don't have to live
Yep.
with that.
Yep.
Um,
And if you go, I think, to, speaking directly to any women who are in it and suffering in any way, there is an exhaustive list of healthcare professionals that you can find in your area. I was just talking to my sister-in-law about this a couple months ago, and she found somebody who was like a mile and a half away from her, but she'd been having all these problems and she just didn't know where to turn.
right.
So if you go to Mary Claire's website, you will see there is an exhaustive list to follow. I mean, I'm sure there are more practitioners out there that are advocating and being, warriors in this field of development that is really kind of new to get women the help that they need, but she's a great resource and there's help. I mean, I've gotten back my sleep, I've gotten
Mhm.
back my libido, I've gotten back my energy. I've lost this crazy ride. Um, there's help in it, and if you can address that piece, it, like I said before, it will help you to navigate the other pieces that are, again, milestones. Like if you've had kids and they're raised and they're starting to leave the nest, that can be really jarring for a
Yeah,
parent. I mean, you've
sure.
built your whole life, like you said, not sleeping great because you want to make sure they're safe, you want to know where they are, and then they start to leave. And because m- for me, I can only speak for me, and I know for you because I know you well, like they are in many ways your reason for being. And when they leave you, which hopefully you've raised them to do, you're filled with this void of like, who am I now? Like, I know I went through it. I absolutely did. Um, but you can get your life back, a life that's yours, and that you're consciously living,
Right.
without the doubt, without the brain fog, without the,
Right.
all of it.
Yeah,
So
and just you get to, I think after going through all this and menopause, can be kind of a battle, man, to go through. for some people. And that's why I think women, when they go through it and they're in their mid-50s or they're in their 60s, they're as my therapist calls it, unapologetically bold.
Right.
I'm going to
Right.
say what I'm going to say. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm not going
Yep.
to do what I don't want to do.
That's right, and
Um,
I'm gonna exit this situation if it feels miserable and shitty to me, and I'm not gonna second guess myself about it, you know?
that's right. That's right. So
So,
that's what there is to look forward to.
for sure.
You can look at it that way. So, okay, we're at time. I don't like to go super, I could talk about this for hours.
I know, there's always more to say about
There's
change.
always the
This
change,
change,
the
the change.
change. Gross. All
Yeah.
right. I will talk to you soon,
Okay,
Angel. Thank you for participating.
thanks for having me on, Ellen, I love ya.
I love you too.